Anyways, moving on here. This is a new segment that I'm going to try out called the Classified Finds of the Week. I guess of every other week, since we only do this podcast every other week. But anyways, we are going to start to dig into some classifieds, because I know we all go through these classified ads and find these unique things, and some of them are really worth sharing, and it's going to have a theme. This week's theme, for example, is the time capsule cars, meaning the cars that were bought brand new and don't have any mileage on them, but they're like 20, 30 years old, and now they're up for sale. And then I guess the concept really is going through these cars and figuring out, are people making money on them? How much more money are they worth than like a regular example of the car? And, you know, is it worth stashing these cars away? There's some really interesting cars that I've found here. And the first one, we'll just roll right into it. We have a 2003 I can't talk. My brain just went numb. 2003 Terminator Cobra with, count them, on one hand, 5 original miles. So, the original MSRP on this car, not that it's really relevant to this story, I guess it is, $34,935 was the original MSRP. So just short of $35,000 bought you one of the coolest Mustangs to ever exist, in my opinion. I'm very biased because I really like this car, and I would love to own one day. But inflating buying power, which is also kind of a weird thing to look at, is $35,000 in 2003 would buy you almost $50,000, $49,296 worth of car in 2020. So the original MSRP is $34,935. Any idea on what the asking price of this car is today? 5 original miles, there's not really a market for it. So this guy kind of had to play it by ear and figure it out himself. What is the profit margin on such a car? I'll give you a hint that's not really a hint. An 04 in a similar color, I think it's the same color, with 8,800 miles, sold at Barrett-Jackson for $38,500 not too long ago. So, what is the value of an 8,795 mile difference between the 04 and the 5 mile 03? Well, the asking price on this one, I'm not 100% sure if it's sold yet or not, but the guy is asking $76,950 for this car found in Salt Lake City, which, by the way, I'm sure the car is very clean and been kept inside, as I'm showing you these pictures here. It's immaculate. But as a car buyer, when I hear Salt in the name of a city, it immediately makes me go, like, I don't have anything to do with it. Which I'm sure this is a gorgeous car. I'm sure there's a lot of clean cars in Salt Lake City, but, you know, Salt eats cars, especially when they get older like this. But yeah, so the profit margin, assuming that this guy sells it for anywhere near what he wants to sell it for, is about $42,000 of real money, or $27,000 when we consider how inflation comes into the equation. So basically, looking at a car like an investment, a 2003 Terminator, like, these cars they're not super rare, but they're not common, right? It's not a common car. It's somewhat rare, having one with 5 original miles on it. So making $27,000, we'll go with the inflation number because I feel like that's more realistic. But making $27,000 over 17 years is less than $2,000 a year appreciation. If you can actually sell it for that, do you think it's worth it? I'm not sure. But the pictures of the Terminator alone make this story more than worth it, because I really do envy that car and that style, and I wish that I could have one with 5 miles on it. But, you know, 8,800 miles on a very similar car for $38,500 versus 5 original miles for $76,000, almost $77,000 is a what? $30,000, $40,000 difference almost. So you're paying $40,000 to have a new car versus one with $8,800 or 8,800 miles on it. Then what do you do? What does this guy do with this car once the buyer buys it, if they buy it for anywhere near that cost? Do they drive it? I mean, you just paid all that money, for a brand new car to not drive it. Do you keep collecting it and hope that it's worth more money in a couple years? Or how does that even work out? That's a mind-blowing thing to think about. And then the other thing is, who bought this car? Like, did they buy it and just like something happened and it's just a weird concept to think about. Or did they buy two of them? Because I don't think I'd be able to have a car like that just sitting out in the garage, and I'm not going to drive it ever. Like, it's weird. And this is another concept that kind of gets people divided and arguing with each other. Because people will see cars like this and go, that car was meant to be driven, and it's a beautiful car, and they get real involved in it. And then other people will be like, you paid your money for it. Go put it in the ocean. I don't care. Like, go sink it like those Silverados that we featured the other week to the bottom of the ocean and blow it up. Whatever. You paid your money for it. It's your loss. But other people will get, drive the car. You bought it to be driven. Don't let it sit in a garage. And I can kind of get both sides. What do you guys think? What do you think? Do you think that sitting a brand new performance car in a garage is a bad thing? Or do you think that collecting cars is all right? So, moving on to our next classified find of the week. This one is cheating a little bit, but it does have a little bit more information. Remember, that's $76,000, and the last one was the asking price. This one actually sold. So I'll give you the description of the vehicle and the rundown and kind of the market. And as I'm telling you this, maybe you guys can form another guess. This is where it's going to be fun with the premiere, because we're going to be able to see the live guesses in the comments, hopefully. We can kind of guess what this thing is going to be worth. So number 2 on the list is a fully restored, which is kind of cheating a little bit. It's not exactly a time capsule, but it's as close as you can get. Fully restored 1999 XJ Jeep Cherokee with just 20 miles on it. And really, guys, like, I don't know if I'm weird in this. I might be. But I feel like the pictures in these alone make it worth looking into them, because you're looking at a car from 1999, which, by the way, a car that's only 21 years, a car from 99 being restored is like weird. It makes me feel old that a 99 Jeep Cherokee is being restored. Anyway, just 20 miles. It's listed at 20 miles. I don't think it was an actual 20-mile Jeep, probably a body, and then maybe the build has 20 miles on it. It has a little bit of work done to it. It's not 100% a time capsule. It has a suspension lift and steering upgrades and bigger tires. And other than that, it appears to be pretty much stock. But this thing is so clean. It's just like, I almost want to go and look at it for nostalgia. Like, it's a museum piece, right? And I didn't realize either that the original MSRP on these Jeeps was actually relatively expensive for what you're getting, because it's a bare bones basic vehicle in most cases. The original MSRP was sitting around $20,000, which at the time equates to about $30,000 in today's money, which I guess isn't a real expensive car, but I don't know. I kind of expected them to be a little bit cheaper. So when you look at this brand new 99 XJ Jeep Cherokee, what are you expecting it to be? Because if you look around the market, you could find one of the cleanest Jeeps imaginable. Probably, like, saying $10,000 would be overkill. Like, I feel like 5 to 7. Maybe I'm wrong. People might correct me in the comments. I feel like 5 to 7, you could buy a perfectly nice, clean Jeep. I know that they're kind of hard to find clean because people off-road them and beat the crap out of them. But what are you guys expecting here? Because this was sold. This was sold on eBay for $35,900. So if you take the original MSRP, it's a $15,900 difference, or about a $5,000 inflated difference, meaning if you're just taking a regular car, 20 years of sitting around isn't enough for it to be worth anything. But I assume that they probably got a body real cheap, stripped it down, and completely did it over, and probably don't have 35.9 into it. They probably have substantially less than that. But do I think it's worth that? It very well could be. And if not, again, just real cool at looking at these types of old vehicles that kind of take us back in time a little bit. And the next one, this next one will really take you back in time. I almost forgot that these things existed. The next vehicle is a 2002 Chevy Monte Carlo SS Dale Earnhardt edition. Now, this is such a weird one. The car has 2,200 miles on it. It is original. And something that you probably didn't think you were going to learn today is that there was 3,333 of these ever made. The threes are probably Dale related. And it's something that, at the time, NASCAR drivers, I didn't realize this till I started recently getting back into watching NASCAR. I didn't realize that NASCAR drivers were like a huge deal. Like, they were A-list celebrities. These days, nobody really knows any NASCAR drivers unless you're a fan of the sport. they were A-list celebrities. They were on talk shows and walking the red carpet, and they did everything A-list celebrities did. So at the time, it would have probably been reasonable, especially with Dale Earnhardt being right before his death at like the height of his celebrity, that one of these things would be collectible one day. And then, you know, it's not the most fun concept in the world, but after he passed away, thinking that this would be worth something someday would be also a reasonable thought. The original MSRP on the car around 2002 was $23,225, which was a decent amount of change for a car that's just a regular commuter. It was the supercharged 3.8 liter, which my first car was, by the way. Very fun car for what it is, you know. But at the end of the day, it was weird because it seemed like Chevy was trying to push this model on people by making them think it was sporty, with Dale Earnhardt being involved in it when it was really just kind of like a commuter car. I don't know. I think that this would be really cool if they would have done it with like the Camaro. Imagine like maybe the Corvette, but probably the Camaro, like an Intimidator edition Camaro outfitted similarly to the way that this car was outfitted, except in a Camaro with maybe a supercharger on the Camaro. Who knows? But anyway, the Monte Carlo's original MSRP was $23,225. So what do you think it sold for? Do you think it appreciated? Do you think it depreciated? Well, get your comments in. What did it sell for? Okay. So the original MSRP, $23,225, ended up selling, 18 years later for $17,000. And if I have a sad sound effect, I'm going to put it right here. So it's like a $6,000 loss minus selling fees and all that stuff. I didn't even bother to find the inflated version because it would be a much bigger loss than that. It's just kind of strange how like some sort of collectible like this, like a 2002 Dale Earnhardt Monte Carlo, is similar in age to a 99 XJ Jeep Cherokee. It's arguably, well, not even arguably, it's definitely a much rarer car, and it's sold for more originally. But when it comes to buying one these days, I guess people just don't really want it. $17,000, don't get me wrong, is still a lot of money for that model as compared to what's on the market these days. But it's just, I don't know, kind of sad to see, honestly. And last is a 2,000-mile 1992 Ford Bronco. I want to add a 4x4 to this stable. Like, even though I have too many vehicles and I can't keep up with making content for all of them as it is, I want to add another one. What do you guys think as far as like an old SUV goes? What's a good like beach cruiser? Because that's what I've been wanting. It's kind of what I was going to do with that Tahoe that never really materialized, and I ended up getting the Corvette. But I kind of do want a beach cruiser. What would you guys do for a beach cruiser? Would you do a 2,000-mile Bronco? This was like the cheapest trim level available, very basic, 4.9-liter V8, manual transmission, and the original MSRP was just under $20,000. So in today's money, because this is definitely the oldest one, 1992 Bronco, the oldest vehicle on our list, the inflation is really adjusted to just short of $36,000 in 1992 money. And the vehicle, it's so clean. Like, looking through these pictures here, you know, it's just like, it's crazy to see these kinds of things in their original condition all these years later. And just wow. Just some of these pictures are incredible. Because it's new, but it's old and crappy at the same time, you know. Something I wouldn't mind adding to the stable, but I can't because it's sold. So get them guesses in. And the original MSRP is $36,000 in today's money. And it's sold for, drum roll please, $34,500. So about what the original MSRP was all of these years later. And with these cars, I'm not really even sure, man. Like, reading through them, I'm not sure how they even got here. Like, oh, it's a straight 6, by the way, not a V8. My bad. It has receipts of the oil and filter changes through the years, but I don't understand how that happens with 2,000 miles on the clock. Like, I can kind of get it if you have like a Terminator, right? That's a car where it's like, okay, maybe this will be worth some money one day. Maybe even the Dale Earnhardt Monte Carlo. Maybe this will be worth some money one day. Put it away, collect it. If you're going to collect a car, those probably aren't bad bets. I mean, obviously, one of them did turn out not being such a great bet. But I don't get how a vehicle like this would be stashed away and only have 2,000 actual miles on it. Like, it just doesn't make very much sense. They think they were going to earn a lot of money on letting this thing sit? Maybe. Is it really cool? Definitely. Do I think it's worth it all these years later to stash it away? If it was stashed away on purpose, you got to think somebody probably died and this was just sitting in a garage, right? Anyway, not much money. This week's segment kind of shows us that there's not a ton of money to be made on vehicles and letting them sit away. The Terminator is yet to be determined. It hasn't been sold yet. Maybe there's good money to be made there. And when it comes to picking collector's cars, it's just so hard, man. It's just so damn hard to do. But people are willing to pay for nostalgia because, like I was saying, these vehicles, even though it's transferred to today's money with inflation, they're about willing to pay what the original cost of the vehicle was just for nostalgia. It just goes to show you, man, like that functionality isn't like humans get spoiled because we're willing to pay money for a memory, for a thought, not even for something that's functional. It's pretty crazy to see that some of these vehicles are bringing big money.